remember, you young ones won't, but the Johnny Carson clip of the fork in the road. It was a funny clip. So, basically what the fork in the road means is where are you guys going to go? What avenue are you going to take? There are so many different marketing avenues. And prospecting, having a pipeline really puts you in control. You can't control the weather, but you sure can control where you experience it. So what's your goal? Is it to increase sales? Is it to build a pipeline? Is it for a long-term relationship? So let's understand, we're not going to do that right now. Let's understand the difference between telemarketing and appointment setting. So telemarketing is a noun. It's the marketing of goods and service by means of telephone calls, typically unsolicited, to potential customers. Appointment setting, compound noun, is telemarketing conducted to generate and set qualified meetings. So what's the market perception of telemarketing versus appointment setting? Well, we all know there's a stigma attached to telemarketing. And this really came about through B2C, business to consumer calling. We've all gotten those annoying phone calls, somebody wanting to sell us something we don't need or we don't want. Oh, hi.
This got to be a great place.
Thanks for coming. We're talking about the differences between telemarketing and appointment setting right now. And so for many people, the annoying callers is the first thing they think of, which is hence why people hate the word telemarketing. People value their own time. They feel burdened by somebody trying to sell them something they don't want or need. When you take B2B telemarketing, business to business, it has a slightly better reputation. The business owners usually are less perturbed when the call comes in. The key there, however, is integrated relevance. So most business owners obviously are going to dislike the useless telemarketing calls, but when a caller calls them with a proposition that they do need or like, they're going to blossom, especially if it's targeted. Come on in. Absolutely. There, and there. So with B2B, business to business telemarketing, it's actually much easier to target the calls, and you're going to get somebody that actually probably is going to listen on the other end of the line, providing that you're showing in the proposition or you're speaking in the proposition and you've done a little research to their target. We can target by industry, company size, geographic region, job title, and so on. We can also buy targeted lists, or we can source from lots of different list companies. So appointment setting takes the targeting to even a greater level. It still has the informative and call to action, but it's not just about getting the appointment. Every time that a targeted or qualified prospect takes the call and it's not the right time for an appointment, a seat is served. So we hope that they now know about us, and when they need or they want something, hopefully they're going to remember us. Probably a shot in the dark, but hopefully. Research says anyway. There's something within people that get more enticed with an appointment setting proposition than just another call to XYZ company. And if we execute it correctly, the appointment setting is going to focus on the prospect. We're going to make them focus very specifically on three things: their level of interest, the best time of day to meet, and do they qualify. So with this level of focus, the prospect feels that the call is more catered to them. It's still an informative call to action, but they don't perceive it as much as telemarketing, because the degree of relevance is a useful, value-added business conversation. So conventional telemarketing has a number of methods for predicting and determining return on investment ROI. Depending on the number and the diversity of other marketing channels that they're using, the return on investment might be less tangible. And again, this is conventional telemarketing, which is not what we do. With appointment setting, the client, salesperson, marketer can calculate the exact short and medium return on investment based on the campaign, number of appointments set, sales converted, and financial investment made. So appointment setting is very direct, active, and focused, and yet still acts as a form of call to action, building market awareness. We'll talk about this as some of our clients' ROI. I'll get there in a minute. The most useful aspect of appointment setting when viewed for its return on investment is the short-term tangibility. Appointment setting is going to show the marketer or the client or the salesperson exactly what they're returning on their investment. So if you're talking about a small business owner, which a lot of them are, they need to see a return quickly for the marketing to sustain, otherwise they're not going to be able to do it. It keeps the ball rolling. It's not necessarily about a sale, but they need to see that they're putting their business in a good position to convert the sales if that time comes. With appointment setting, the business owner or the decision maker can assess the number of appointments, they evaluate the quality of the prospects, and they know exactly how many sales were converted. So appointment setting is far easier with regards to tracking return on investment. You know what you invest, you know what the sales are that you procured, and you know what they're worth to you in your business. So our marketers can achieve real tangible results with appointments rather than open expectations of new business. So with an appointment, and if it's qualified, if you've got the right, if you're doing the right thing, or if you've got the right firm calling for you, if it's a qualified, solid meeting with a decision maker, the salesperson, aka the expert, can't go in there or shouldn't go in there thinking, oh, I got the sale. You still have to do your dog and pony show, but at least you're going to know that it's a solid meeting, which means the prospect knows why you're walking through the door or picking up the phone with a decision maker that's qualified. And we can talk more about that. So this is one example of a client that's with us. He's a physical therapist. He goes into companies and does on-site injury prevention, and he lowers work comp claims by 50%. So John started with us 2 years ago. And these are a lot of metrics, but basically, ideal prospect means that we have set him 990 appointments. He's pitched 54. Oops. He's obtained info from 21. He's reconvened after he's put the info, the loss runs together, 16. He's delivered 56% proposals, and he's won 9. His ROI is $838,000 in 2 years. Contact to contract, if they know their vertical, the sales cycle is 1.2 years. If they don't know their vertical, and he's kind of taking a shot in the dark, is going to be 3 years. But 838,000 is not a bad number for 2 years. We also have a client out of Houston that does expense reduction. He goes into very large international law firms and B2B Fortune 500 plus B2B companies. And he's been with us 14 of my 15 years in business. When Joe interviewed me 14 years ago, he actually still has the recording. He's a strong Italian man, and he said to me, okay, you're my third telemarketer. I'm going to give you your 90-day trial, which is what we do, a 90-day trial. And if you don't do it, I'm done with telemarketing. Well, I sort of cringe when I hear the word telemarketing because we're known as appointment setters. Here he is 14 years later. Obviously, the 90 days worked for him. He's had a 500% return on investment. Now, keep in mind, these clients, marketers, salespeople, whatever you want to call them, are great closers, and we are great openers. So it's a marriage. It's not, we're not doing it all. We're opening the door, we're setting it up, but they have to go to close the business. We have another client that does this locally with us 90 days, claims administration for class action lawsuits. And his ROI, I mean, we've made almost 4,000 calls. He's converted 90, he's given 6 proposals. Proposal value is $152K, contract value is $47K. Bottom line is his ROI is 36%. He's a great closer as well. So ROI, like I say, is really about the client's ability to close and knowing the sales cycle. Last year in 2014, our client's conversion rate was anywhere between 45 and 80%. Again, this is going to be dependent on industry, geography, target, sense of urgency, which there's not usually a sense of urgency in appointment setting, it's usually a build relationship thing. Our callers conversion dials were last year, one appointment every 8.3 hours. And that is far above the industry standard, which we're going to talk about a superstar caller. So it's not necessarily about the dials, even though that's the question everybody wants to know. How many dials do you make? More importantly, it's about how good is the caller, how do they convert once they get a decision maker on the line. Practice right so you can't get it wrong. Practice makes perfect. Ron, you need to have one more word. Perfect practice makes perfect. I got this from Harvey McKay's book, The MBA Selling. And as Harvey would say, he'd like to take credit for what originally came from Vince Lombardi. So hire people that are still learning. Learning is a lifelong process, whether in the classroom, office, or at home. And show your people that you want them to grow, and your business is going to grow too. People buy from people they like. Harvey McKay's moral: all the world's a stage, and most of us need more rehearsals. The importance of sales leads. Reason we fail: lack of sales, because we're not filling the pipeline. Customers didn't stay. Either our numbers fell, they couldn't close. They couldn't close, they don't have the money to keep going. And their sales are inconsistent. So the three toughest sales: company, product, and self. You can change the product anytime you want to. It's the you factor you can't change. And the you factor is going to determine if you were born to sell. So I've seen a lot of people struggle with cold calling and growing a pipeline. You need to know how to qualify, find out about budget and timeline, and make sure you're talking to a decision maker. What is the value proposition, skill set, and wiring needed for a professional teleprospector? Do they sound seasoned? Are they mature? If you're going to be doing this kind of calling, high-level calling, you cannot have a young voice. Are they self-motivated enough to show follow-up steps? If the company is virtual, like us, are the marketers hungry enough to meet or exceed their goals? Can they stand on their feet and persuade the prospect to book a meeting? Our professionals, callers, wiring is, and you guys all know what I'm about to say. You've got 30 seconds to make a presence. You've got 2 to 3 minutes to convince, educate, entice, get that executive excited enough to take a meeting to learn more. We are wired very differently than a salesperson or the expert or the owner. We like the quick hit, fast moving systems. Long sales cycles will make us nuts. So let's just talk for a minute now that we understand what consists of the best marker. Let's go back to some of the reasons why you had a negative experience or a positive experience.
Bad language skills, a pause in answering the call.
And that's you listening, right? The caller's calling you.
Caller's calling you.
Right, okay?
Waiting for it to be signed in a call center.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's telemarketing, yeah.
People that don't understand what they're selling.
Absolutely. Anybody have a good experience? That's what I thought.
Well, it's telefundraising, but I've had a couple of calls at home where, I'm sorry, they can't put one over on me, but I sat and listened because I'm thinking, you're not good, you're not good,
Yeah.
you're not good.
So that's
you're not
B2C.
good. I still say no, but I'm like, well, you know what? But you're doing your job well, and I let them know.
Yeah, and that's B2C. That's telemarketing for sure. Anybody else? Bad experience, good experience? Why? Okay, so, go ahead.
Well, I think just you can tell they're reading a script, and
Yeah.
if you interject with a question, they're like,
What do you do?
what do you
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most of us, unfortunately, have had call center experience, which is telemarketing. And I think that's fine for, I don't want to beat up telemarketing because everybody's out there for a reason. But I think telemarketing is more about credit card sales, follow up on your car service, Roofing and siding, I mean, I got a call this morning already. We want to come out and see if there's damage to your roof from last night. I'm like, well, I live in an association, so I'll see it fine. But yeah, I mean, it's more of a yes or no answer. You know, it's not, you know, it's reading from a script. It's what we see on TV, people sitting in their call room with the headsets on. It's not boutique appointment setting. So thanks, you guys. So after doing this for 25 years and hiring hundreds of people, finding a superstar caller is sort of like finding your soulmate. So the first day is like an interview. Everybody's on their A game. They've prepared for this moment. They're excited about it. They sound thrilled to be talking to you. It's all you ever wanted. Bottom line, this could possibly be the one. Soon enough, the first meeting jitters are over, and you start to see what they're really all about. Let's be honest. What are the chances of that one being the one? Let's say 1 billion to 1. Well, a professional caller we hire is pretty much a shot in the dark. They're definitely one of a kind. So now let's talk about what a salesperson's value prop is. And this again is more about the sale. How's a salesperson wired, unlike a tele-salesperson? Well, their value proposition is about a solution complex sell with intelligence. They are used to enduring the long sales cycle. They need to know their solution to sell it, to be able to match it, to sell it to what they're talking to the prospect about. The best salesperson is also one of a kind. I have found that the best salespeople are the owners. No one likes to win as much. So owners, presidents, CEOs, partners, vice presidents, they're actually considered the experts. They know their business inside and out, and they can educate, and hopefully they can sell the best solution. And again, when are your salespeople working on their pipeline? Or are they? Calendar's supposed to be here. Okay, click on off the calendar. Expectations. So take risks and cold call. Ask permission. Do you have a minute? If they say yes, say, okay, thank you, I'll be quick. If they say no, don't bully your way in and start pitching, like a telemarketer will. Tell them you'll call back later. If they want to know a minute of information, well, I don't have time to tell me what you're calling about. You know what, I don't want to bother you. This can't be said in 30 seconds or less. Let me give you a call back later. Do not give them a tip. They will avoid your call. It's happened to me many times in my companies. Ask probing questions. Try to find out what they're looking for. This is not about you. This is about the prospect, his or her company, and the caller having good listening skills. How do they hire companies like us? Ask them. Find out. Show appreciation before you leave. Not just thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Show sincerity. Post-meeting next steps. Ask if it's okay to follow up in so many months. Get an okay to follow up. Most business owners I have found, if you're a professional, will give you an okay to follow up. Very rarely have I heard in my 25 years of doing this, take me off your list. Certain industries, none of those industries are here. So here's a quick story. 2 salespeople are walking down the street. One guy says to the other guy, hey, see that SOP across the street? The guy says, yeah, I don't sell them either. If you really have a deep down burning desire to improve, you need to go back to these people and find out what you did wrong. Beg if you must for a few minutes of their time, but get in there. Ask first about the company, what you're selling, your products and services. And if they're a little hesitant or reluctant to just kind of open up, give them some tips. Say to them, was I too arrogant, pushy, condescending, obnoxious? Did I waste your time? Did I do my homework? Is there someone else I should be talking to? What are you looking for in a supplier? And may I call you again in a few months? Pay attention to the answers. Because even if you never get a nickel's worth of business from them, the information you've just gathered is far more valuable. Harvey McKay calls this immediate, unfiltered feedback. Remember it, but more importantly, use it. You can't direct the moral is you can't direct the wind, but you can sure shift signals. Everyone wants to know how to leave a good voicemail message and get a call back. Now, this is, after all, this is not like we're setting our personal ratings on our voicemail so we can record it over and over again until we like it. So there's actually a real art to teach you here about the dialects and the nuances. For example, it's kind of like choosing a movie or a radio station on your car. So do you guys, when you're cold calling, breathe a sigh of relief after 3 agonizing rings and you get a voicemail? Does that make you guys happy?
No.
I see some smiles over here though. I think for some you're just like, oh good, I can just leave a message. Move on. Right? Okay. So, there's a couple of options. There's option 1, which is the speedy voicemail, as if you know them, and option 2, which short voicemail buzzwords. So for example, option 1 is like, hey Bob, this is Jody Weinberg, it's 12:11 Central Time on Monday. Appreciate it if you could reach out to me before the end of the day, I'll be here all afternoon. That's a show. Basically sounds like, you know, when people call me up, like, well, do I know you? I'll be like, oh no, but everybody thinks they do. Really. Some people don't like it, but most people are okay with it. Another short voicemail is the same voicemail, and you want to say it's regarding somebody. It's regarding a name, not a company. So it's regarding Joe Nuzzo, not Nuzzo Resources. Because the minute they hear a company, they're going to go on and they're going to Google and they're going to go, oh, I was a telemarketer calling us. So I personally like to leave a name. The second kind of voicemail that we leave, which is going to be a little longer, it's going to have a couple buzzwords. It's going to pertain to, hopefully you guys have done a little research, and it's going to pertain to the industry you're calling. So we suggest you leave a voicemail like 3 times. Hey Bob, this is Jody Weinberg. I'm calling on behalf of, if you're going to say again the person's name, not company, share a couple benefits as to why he or she should call you back and learn more, and say, if I don't hear from you by, and it's usually 48 hours, so today is Tuesday, Thursday, I'll call you back. By call 4, you still have to receive the call back. Call back and be cute. Hey Bob, this is Jody Weinberg. I think I have figured it out. You're testing me. Leave a little bit about your value prop. Again, if I don't get a call back within 48 hours, I'll call you back. By call 7 or 8, you say, maybe you're not in charge. Maybe there's someone else in the company I should be speaking to. Maybe you've changed positions. If I don't hear from you by tomorrow, I'll find out who else is in charge. It's your last ditch effort. Go find another decision maker. Generally in a company, there are 3 or 4 decision makers. When we take on a new client, I ask for 4 possible decision makers, especially if you're calling big companies. And again, as I said, you know, I try to avoid saying the company name. I would rather, if I have to say a name, my first call usually is just pretty generic, you know. I'm around, these are the times I'm around, give me a call back. If I have to go 2nd or 3rd, I'm gonna leave a name. Make sure you're documenting. If it's in writing, if it's in your CRM, what kind of a message you're leaving. Because you don't leave it, probably the same message again.
How many do you suggest voicemails do you leave?
1 or 2 a week.
1 or 2 a week?
If you don't want to sound like a telemarketer. Now, you can dial as many times as you want, but we're all private callers, so we block our phones. Because, and some days I don't. And I got somebody on the phone last week that said, I can't believe you called me 15 times today. And I looked at my notes and I said, well, actually I called you 3. And, because I forgot to star 6-7. And he's like, well, I just really having a bad day. You know, I apologize, but blah, 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 blah. I don't know. No problem.
Do you find too that there are some people that just don't pick up, it always
Yeah.
divert to voicemail,
Mhm.
so?
Call the operator, find out if there's, hey, I've been trying to reach, Larry Jones for the last week and a half, where it could have been really 2 months, and I only get his voicemail. Is there somebody that sits next to him that can tell me if he's available or if he's even in? And then often they'll transfer you to an assistant, which is going to lead us to the kind of voicemails. All voicemails need to be pleasant and friendly. That goes without saying. But, some people are just like so monotone on the phone, and it's just like, ugh. Short voicemail I did, in the short voicemail, date and time to reach you. Longer voicemail, the more specifics we talked about. So, let's talk about the gatekeeper. So, we love those gatekeepers, don't we? They think that they're the decision makers. So, let's talk about the dialogue script. Who's writing the dialogue? And what's their experience in writing dialogues or speaking? Because it's the same thing. It's a speech or it's a dialogue. No, we're not there. That's okay. So, what do you say to the gatekeeper when she wants to know what it's about? Has anybody had to deal with gatekeepers and? Oh, you said it's about, that's interesting. Anybody else? Okay, a couple of our techniques are, we say, we're in the middle of a conference meeting, just don't have a lot of time. We'll call back later and provide them with more details. Or, you can say it's confidential, which is what I just like. And it's against company business to talk to anybody but Larry Jones, the decision maker. Don't give them too much information. They oftentimes want to say, well, if you can't give me any more information, I don't think you're going to call back. You say, that's okay, it's confidential, I appreciate your time, and you just call back. Blocked. What frustrates the caller when working with a prospect? Some of the things you say. We might be misled. Prospect might hide information. We don't know their agenda. We hear they want to think it over, which is the worst case scenario. That's not what we want to hear. Time, how much of it do we have? So at this point, we clearly don't have rapport. So, and what this does is it allows the prospect to put themselves in a better light. If we've established trust, then they can be vulnerable, which allows us to sell the right solutions. What frustrates the prospect when working with a caller? Callers haven't done their homework or their research. We assume, but if you've done some research, you probably won't need to assume as much. We overtalk benefits. We use too many buzzwords. Buzzwords alienate the prospect. Be normal. Don't speak, what is it? You're a caller, and you're trying to speak the expert's language, the solution, complex language. Don't do it. Just be normal. Well, we don't know our agenda. 5 outcomes of the call. Yes, well, obviously this is the very best. We started building rapport, we got permission for a second meeting. No, this is okay actually. You've had the guts and the courage to ask challenging questions. Lessons learned. Every call is an opportunity to learn. Even if we don't get the business, we've met some very cool people. And who knows what can come of that. Clear future. You did something right because you're moving to step 2. Referral. You got permission to follow up 2 to 3 times a year. And that's good too. And as mentioned in bullet 2, you didn't limit your network. You now know one more person that may end up as a referral for you and also serves us. We appreciate the time you gave me. Is there anybody in your universe that I can call on? LinkedIn. Well, all of us, I'm sure, use some LinkedIn. Everybody here is pretty much familiar in using LinkedIn, right? Okay. So how many are on premium? Okay. So the question is, what kind of research have we done on the prospect? And LinkedIn actually helps a ton for this. Look here as one of your sources to find executives and have a better understanding of their business. So for example, let's take Bob Johnson. Definitely gonna be tougher to research. But if you know more about Bob Johnson, you can narrow the criteria, which is obviously gonna narrow the search. Does Bob Johnson live in Minnesota? Where does he live? False positives. Does anybody know what I mean by that term? Okay. False positives in the context of searching are search results that don't match your criteria that come up anyway. So you're still getting tons of Bob Johnsons. We're gonna have to narrow the search. Do you guys have an email address? Do you have a company name? Do you know where they're located? Middle initial, state? Any of that is gonna narrow down the search. And as you can see, this is the lead builder, and this is the advanced. The advanced is gonna be with the premium, but we can narrow it down: current company, location, title, keywords, company size. So it's sort of like a stonecutter hammer away at a rock, perhaps 10 times, 100 times, without making a dent. But on the 101st blow, the rock splits in two. It's not the blow that hit it, it's what came before. So if you're not willing to practice and practice until you get it right, you're never gonna make 100 blows that leads to the 101st break. Just look at the great athletes and musicians. There are no walks out at the Super Bowl, or at Carnegie Hall, or the corporate boardrooms for that matter. The level of performance in those exalted places is only a partial reflection of talent. Amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. Another by our friend Irving King, who I love. Failure to prepare is preparing to fail. John Wooden. Did you know that LinkedIn has 140 industries you can search? In this case, it's not like choosing a radio station or a movie to go to. It's more like a laundry list. So if you're marketing to a specific industry, for fun, let's just use intellectual property. If you do a little research prior to the call, this is going to allow you to sound like you've done your homework on the current trends and topics of their industry. Opting into the 140 industry list. If you guys want a copy of the list, put a P on the back of your business card and give it to me, and I will download the 140 to you. Now, there might be only 5 to 20 for you guys, but keep in mind, they're going to be the best of the best. This is important. With free LinkedIn, you get 100 search results. So we want to make sure that they're the cream of the crop. You can only see so much, so you want to make sure that the highest qualified and highest targeted results, because you're only going to get to see so many. With paid LinkedIn account, you can see more search results at a one-time glance. The more we refine our search, again, the better our search results are going to be. And since we can only get so many, obviously we want them to be the best of the best. Now, if you find out, talking about false positives, that the search is too large, but it has really what you want in it, the very best, this is where you break it up into pieces like you slice a loaf of bread. By industry, by company, by geographic region, by job title. Hundreds aren't enough. You can't get what you need with a teaspoon or a tablespoon. By the way, a premium LinkedIn account is only about $60 a month. And I don't get anything out of that, just FYI. Know their business. Oh, before we move there, let's talk about research for specific targets. This is very interesting, I found. When you're researching for somebody, most of us would think that we're looking for business stuff, but really surprisingly, we're looking for personal stuff. Why? Because we want to try to find some commonalities there. So what if you find out they're a golfer, or they're a huge volunteer, or they're a Wisconsin Badger, or a Gopher fan? It's a way of connecting. It's good to go into the personal. So let's say you've got a great search and you've got 1,500 amazing results. That's a lot. If you don't use this technique that I was talking about, you're not gonna touch them. You're just not. If you break them up and you look, say you break it up to a small list of your top 10 best prospects, you are going to touch everyone and hopefully you're gonna get your foot in the door. There's 2 ways to engage them: front door, which is sending an invite, or an email through LinkedIn, or the side door. Monitor their activity with your top 10 prospects. When they do something, make a comment on LinkedIn, or for sure make a note in your CRM, so you can always go back to it. Know their businesses, their triggers, and the rhythm. So we've done the nuts and bolts. What's the right type of prospect? The more you understand what the timeline is that the prospects are on, the more success you're going to have. So, for example, somebody says, well, we don't renew for a year. Call us back in 9 months. We don't do that. We don't want to be part of the cattle call. So what we do is we call them back prior, say renewal's June. We might call back January or February. Why? If they're telling you to call back in 90 days, they're telling everybody else to call back in 90 days. So you just become part of the cattle call. What we want is we want to set up a meeting that's much more relaxed and consultative experience, which is really what our clients want. They're not interested in just going to bed and being one of a network. Send me some more information. Well, this is a good one. There's 3 ways to handle that. Send me more information. First answer. We'll be glad to send you information, but it's really pretty generic. How about, it's just going to really tell you, who we are, where we're located, and it's going to have our website. How about if we schedule a meeting and then I send you information? No, I want information. Well, again, I'm happy to do that, but it's taking me like 2 months to get a hold of you, which I literally will say to you. And it really would be nice if we could just get something on the calendar, and when you see the info, you've got our contact information. If you don't like what you see, you can email or call us. The third kind is going to be somebody that says, listen, you called me, you want my business, you're going to do it my way. And then we say, of course we are. And we're going to send info without booking a meeting, and we're going to follow up in 3 days. So that's how you deal with the info thing. 4 ways to get appointments. More dials, good voicemails so you get a call back, more context is about building your pipeline, and improve your conversion rate. If you're doing the calling, or if you're outsourcing, or you're hiring, make sure that they can convert those dials to appointments. Reasons to outsource marketing. Well, you can see percent of telephone contacts has gone down as the time goes on. What that basically means is that you better, again, we're going back to conversions, you better have a good caller, because of all the technology today, it's much harder to reach someone than it was 25 years ago. And I think the emails and the e-blasts are fine, but I think a lot of people just click on them and they don't really, they click on them on their smartphones and they're not really reading them. So it's fine to complement them with an e-blast or with a series of drip marketing, but in the end, I think you have to get on the telephone. And what does your day look like? This is what your day will look like if you've got prospecting going on and you're building a pipeline. The question is, does your day consist of busy work, because everybody can keep busy 8 to 10 hours a day, or does it consist of busy, productive work? Do you keep an agenda? Do you keep a calendar on Outlook? I still do. I set up my week every Sunday on my Outlook. Doesn't mean that I follow it to the T, but it's a good guide to keep me focused. Here's some of our success stories. Talk to you about NewZone, the 500% ROI. The small one up at the top is the on-site injury prevention firm that doesn't want their name listed, and some others. So I would be remiss. Oh, final thought, guys, final thought. Have $1 million smile. People feel it over the phone. So let's think about this for a minute. I'd like to know when you think is the right time to reach out. We're gonna paint a picture for the future. So what if a year from now, we fast forward, it's a year from now, your leads aren't as hard to get. You know they're better leads and you think, darn it, they even like me. Hey, some of them even love me. It's like the Al Franken skit doing Stuart Smalley quote, because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. Or, if they love you, which was a shocker to us, I go to Houston every year to visit these guys. The wife and I are going out to lunch and window shopping, and we walk into the Kate Spade store, and I see this coat, and I don't have my glasses on, and I say, Kim, it's $99 and 30% off everywhere. It's a little boutique store they're trying to kick off. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to get it. So it's a fur coat with leather. And I walk up to the register, and the woman says, yeah, that'll be $600 and some dollars. And I go, what? I thought it was $99, like a fool. And she's like, oh no, it's $999. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to talk to the register about this. And I go, put the coat back. And I'm like, Kim, it costs $1,000. I come home, 2 weeks later, the girls open the door. Mom, there's a giant box here from Kate Spade. I'm like, oh my God. They sent me the Kate Spade coat. So some of the clients, some people you call actually end up loving you. And Kate Spade arrives in your front door. We've learned over time we have similar interests, the personal versus the business. And we took the time to find out about each other, and it paid off. And to conclude, over the years, I've learned tremendous things from fabulous people. I feel it's important to acknowledge these people that have taught me and given me a lot of inspiration. Sam Richter, I don't know if any of you have heard of him. He's a speaker and author. He taught me how to find things on LinkedIn where people were invisible to me before. He's also written several books. One of my favorites, Take the Cold Out of Cold Coffee. Easy to read, great book. Mike O'Neill, Integrated Alliances. If you don't know him or you're not connected to him, I highly suggest you do so. Mike's a LinkedIn research expert. He consults, speaks, and he's an author. He taught me how to use LinkedIn to make things happen. Steve Kloidek, the prospecting expert. He's also current president of the PSA, Professional Sales Association. Actually, Steve was the first speaker I ever listened to 30 years ago on a cassette tape. There was a 4 series of cassette tapes talking about dating us. And I finally met him about 6 months ago. So he speaks and trains on prospecting, teleprospecting. He's great. Kathy Paper, founder, CEO of Rock Paper Star. Kathy's a business manager, a promoter, a strategic coach for business owners and speakers. She markets and prepares speakers and authors. Some of her clients have been Harvey McKay, Sam Richter, Steve Schussler, to name a few. And last, but most important, is the person standing in the back of the room, Haley Weinberg, my daughter. Without her, we wouldn't have a cool PowerPoint. We wouldn't have cool candy feet. And the hours and hours I practiced in front of her, she probably could memorize this speech better than I can. So I'm happy to spend a few minutes with you guys if you want to do any role playing. If you don't have time, but you'd like to meet, put an M on the back of your business card. Again, if you want me to download the presentation to you, put a P on it, and I'll send it to you. Any questions? What? Yeah, I'll send you a tip sheet. Yeah, be happy to. So, any questions? I did that good of a job, huh? Okay, well, I guess Hill wants you to fill out this evaluation.